Hey guys, welcome back to some more F1 Williams return to glory here today, and this is the Singapore Grand Prix and the start of the final flyaways for the final part of season 1, and we're getting there guys. I think we're now 15 races in, and season 1 has gone by in a flash, but yeah, as you guys saw in the last episode, if you haven't done so, then I'll leave a link up in the top right hand corner of the screen. Spoiler warning basically, but in the last episode you guys saw that we got confirmed that there's probably going to be a regulation change next year. Also, Kimi Raikkonen is retiring, and us personally, we're looking pretty decent. Hopefully we can make some upgrades heading into next year. I'm kind of planning on starting to change focus soon in the next couple of races and kind of try and work towards next year's package and try to really bridge that gap over the winter, especially with the regulation change, and try and really close that gap, because that's going to be a big opportunity for us to really gain on the teams around us. But before that to happen, we need Williams to kind of, elevate their game a little bit and, work on the facilities, which is something that has not been the case this year. But nonetheless, enough rambling. Singapore, you guys know the story by now. It's a really good track for me. The AI are not that strong around there, so we've got a big opportunity today, possibly our last one of the season, to kind of get a good result. And I'm looking forward to it, of course. I'm now a bit more used to my new pedals as well, so I've got reasons to feel optimistic about this race. So hopefully you guys are going to enjoy today's episode. Once again, as always, the previous episode will be linked up in the top right. If you guys are going to enjoy this one, then slap a like on it. Let's try and hit over 1,000 likes on today's video, guys. Subscribe for more daily content. We hit 58k subs yesterday, so we're going to try and push towards 59 now, guys. Any help would be massively appreciated. And yeah, let's get the Singapore Grand Prix weekend underway. Here we are then guys, on the laptop once again, and we look at the weather forecast, and we have rain expected in qualifying, which could be pretty interesting. We then look at the R&D graph, and this weekend we do close the gap quite considerably to Haas and Alfa Romeo, so we're getting closer and closer now, and it looks like very soon we could potentially finally get off the bottom of the table in terms of the performance chart. We've got 2 more upgrades on the way, both for the aerodynamics. One is minor and one is major, so there's reasons to feel optimistic. We could potentially leapfrog 1 or 2 teams in the next couple of races, so fingers crossed that does come true, and hopefully we'll try and add even more upgrades in today's episode. But for now, we jump into FP1 in practice, and I tried to get the car shaken down and kind of up to pace early on, and I've got to say it was actually pretty decent. Singapore, I enjoy Singapore. It's a bit long sometimes, but generally I enjoy driving it, and it made such a difference using an actual setup rather than the default one. This car was absolutely undrivable on a default setup, but with my own custom one, it was actually good fun. The Williams was working well, and I felt optimistic heading into qualifying. We've got that rain expected, but qualifying did not get off to the best start, and the reason for that is because we had an issue with the car, as you'll see now, and essentially it's going to kind of ruin me a little bit and screw me over.
Okay, I know you're eager to get out there, but I'm going to need you to be patient for a few minutes. We're just trying to zero in on an oil leak.
So we had a bit of an oil leak, and as soon as it finished, straight away I went out on the track, and unbeknownst to me, and little did I know, the rain actually was already falling. So you can see here a bit of spray being kicked up by the Renault ahead. I've missed out on 4 crucial minutes of running, and I've essentially been screwed over. So I'm going to send it on this lap and hope for a miracle, because the track is getting wet, it's getting greasy. Luckily for us, the rain wasn't that strong in the sense that it was coming down, but it wasn't having that much of an effect on the track. DRS is still enabled, so I'm going to get probably 1 chance at this, and this is my lap here. So you'll see we already got a bit of oversteer out of turn 3. I'm just trying to make sure we do a clean lap. I'm not super confident yet, especially in these kind of mixed conditions. I've only just about gone on top of the dry conditions with my new pedals, but anything that's in the rain or mixed conditions, I'm still not there yet. So I'm kind of in a bit of a tricky one where I'm trying to push, but also keep it clean, and I'm trying to find the right balance in terms of how much I can really push with these pedals. And so far, besides turn 3, it's been a pretty clean lap. We now make our way though into, I believe, turn 9, I think, the Singapore sling, or turn 8. Just trying to carry that momentum throughout this entire section. Really, really important to have a good setup, have that good flow and car confidence, and just throw the car in and hope for the best. Now into the hairpin as we now try to get some traction on the exit here. A little bit of wheel spin, but we managed to control it, cutting it off by short shifting to 5th gear. We then brake hard for turn 14, I believe, down a 2nd gear, quickly back up to 3rd on a short shift, and then 4th gear as well. Just trying to cut out those, rear wheel spin moments really with the short shifts. Heading through a little right left chicane here under the bridge, and just making sure I go again, we get clean traction, which we don't really do. Bit of oversteer again. Now under the bridge, I actually send it through here because the under the bridge is completely dry. So that's a good opportunity for me to kind of get the car pointed in the right direction. And then the final of the last chicanes as we now make our way to the final corner, 6th gear. Full commitment, didn't really attack the inside curb enough. I was getting a lot of understeer at this point, but luckily for us, we go P14, and for now, we are safe. So, under pressure, with the conditions, we somehow delivered, and after qualifying, we just made it through in P15. We knocked out George Russell in the process, but we're through, and we survived after the team almost screwed me over with car issues at the start of Q1. So, a big clutch moment there in Q1, and we get into Q2. Now, speaking of Q2, the rain made its presence felt. Now, the track was in a really weird state. It was on the drier side, so essentially it was only just wet enough for the intermediates. But DRS was disabled, but the track wasn't that wet, so there was a lot of understeer, a lot of oversteer. The inters weren't really working that well, just the general track conditions. You can see currently we're P5, I've just set a lap, and I'm going to go for another one here, and this was my best lap in Q2, so as you can see, you're going to see a lot of time gains, but also time losses. So out of turn 3, we get a really nice exit. We're already a 10th up here as we head into turn 4, but then turn 4 I missed my apex completely, don't get a good exit as a consequence of that, so we threw away about a 10th in fairness to you, so we only improved in the first sector by about half a 10th, which is a bit disappointing. We then hit the brakes hard, going to the left hander. I probably broke a bit too early. We did get a clean exit though, so we managed to get some of that time back. Then into this little 90-degree right, again trying to make sure we get some of that lap time back, and we're pretty much staying the same really through these corners. We then hooked this left-hander up nicely because on the previous lap I completely missed my apex through there, so we're nearly 2 tenths up. Now into this kind of tricky Mickey Mouse section, trying to push flat out here, 2.5 tenths up at this point, and the lap's actually coming together quite nicely. We then make our way through the Anderson Bridge into the hairpin, down to first gear, but again, just missing my apex a little bit there, compromising my exit slightly, but we're still better part of 2.5 tenths up, at the minute, so it's not too shabby as we end sector 2. We then hit the brakes hard, and turn 13, 14, I believe, we run it a bit hot on the brakes. I kind of outbraked myself, threw away another 1/10 of a second through there, as we now make our way into the chicanes. First of all, this little right-left, again, a bit too hot on the brakes, but somehow I managed to find time, so I was quite surprised with that one. We then go into the left-right, and of course the dry section of track here under the bridge. Again, I broke myself, ran it in a bit too hot, but again, we recover okay on the exit. We're still a 10th up, and then through this little right-left, I just got really out of shape there on the right-hander by hitting the inside curb. And in the end, through the final corner, we find a bit of time, but it's only going to be a small improvement as we get sideways across the line, and no change to the position. And we set a 52, which is not too bad, but there was definitely, I want to say maybe even half a second to be fair, on a better lap and a cleaner lap. But at the time we went back to the garage, you can see we're P6, and the person in P11, Carlos Sainz, is better part of 6, nearly 7 tenths behind us. So I actually decided to not go out again, and unfortunately, by not going out, we got knocked out. So yeah, a bit of a shame really, because I think there's a bit of time simulation glitch in there. The way Ricciardo got P5, which is quite surprising. Vettel up in P2, Bottas 7 tenths clear, which is a bit of an eyebrow raiser. So yeah, disappointing. Out in Q2, I did not expect that. I thought we had the pace, and I was fully expecting a Q3 appearance. So that was a bit of a letdown really, and I'm not sure how I feel about it, because I felt like I did the right thing. I didn't want to go back out. The track didn't feel great, and I don't know where the AI found the time from, because the track wasn't really getting that much wet. It was actually going back to dry for Q3, I believe. So I'm not sure how they found that time. And the fact that I had nearly 7 tenths in my pocket, I really thought I was safe, but clearly not. So we are out in Q2 here for the Singapore Grand Prix, which is a bit of a shocker to be fair. And I'm going to be honest, I'm going to say we should have maybe even had pole today. So yeah, we're out in qualifying. We look at the rivalry breakdown. Leclerc does outscore us here today. And of course, as you'd expect, there's going to be no change to the acclaim due to getting knocked out in Q2. So there you go. There's your lot for qualifying. Hopefully though, in the race, we can turn it around. There's going to be a free tyre choice for everybody. So it could be a spicy race. So let's jump into it and let's see how we get on in the race.
Against the spectacular backdrop of the Singapore skyline, Formula One returns once again to do battle in what tends to become something of an endurance race, with the notorious sauna-like temperatures in the cockpit making for an extremely physically challenging Grand Prix. It's a 3.1 mile lap here at the Marina Bay Street circuit with 47% taken at full throttle. It's hot, humid and bumpy around the 13 lefts and the 10 rights of mostly slow corners, but we should see speeds of up to 200 miles per hour along the Raffles Boulevard. Anthony Davidson joins me again for the race today. Let's talk briefly about Esteban Ocon. They've had to change their gearbox. It's never a good start to a Grand Prix when, right off the bat, you have to contend with a grid penalty.
Fingers crossed that's one failure they won't have to worry about today, at least. There's not much of a silver lining to starting down the field with a penalty, but I think they'll be able to make some of that back up over the course of the race.
Before we begin, let's take a quick look at the grid lineup for today's race. Good job yesterday from Valtteri Bottas. The fence starts from pole position, and Lewis Hamilton completes the front row. As we continue through the rest of the grid today, we have Verstappen, Leclerc, Sebastian Vettel, and Albon, Perez, Sainz, Ricciardo and Lance Stroll, Magnussen, Martinez, Pierre Gasly and Grosjean, Russell, Giovinazzi, Lando Norris and Daniel Kvyat. Ocon and Kimi Raikkonen finishes off the grid. It's almost time for those 5 red lights to go out. Then let's see who can prevail today.
Now this is actually my second time recording this because I actually did a race before and I had a power cut, so I've lost all my progress and I've got to do it all over again. So we're starting from P12 and of course everybody has a complete free tyre choice due to the fact we had rain in Q2. So it's going to be quite interesting in terms of what tyres people start on strategy wise. I feel like the one stop's going to be the order of the day pretty much all round. In terms of our strategy, we're going to start in mediums, go to the hards, and fuel wise the key element here, I've underfueled by 1.5 laps. There's no rain expected. I'm going to go very light on fuel because it's quite easy to save around here and the majority of the lap is done in lean mix to kind of save rear tyres. And elsewhere, I think strategy-wise, the longer we go on the first stint, that's going to be really, really important. So we need to try and aim to save some tyres and really try and make that first stint extra long. You know, lap 14, 15 would be pretty sweet if possible. In principle, we're pitting lap 12. So yeah, let's jump into it. Let's see how it goes. I feel optimistic. We've got good pace and I've kind of done a bit of a test around here and I know what to expect. So let's jump into it and let's get the Singapore Grand Prix underway. Okay, here we go then. Let's get ready for the lights. I'm not super confident with my race starts. That's one thing I'm not too secure myself about, but we're going to send it anyway. Off the line we go. It's an absolute stinker. Absolute stinker. We've lost so many places. Into turn 1 we go. I'm in the middle of the pack here. I've got to be very cautious. Looks like we're going to just about edge ahead of Norris. Going to get Giovinazzi as well. Yep. Don't worry about it, Jeff. I know what I've got to do. Just... again, leave me alone. I know what I'm doing. These two battling away here. They're going to be a little bit slow. I think Giovinazzi is trying to look for a move here, so I'm going to have to go defensive. Uh-oh, this could get ugly. Going to have to just go on the outside. The AI are running maximum power for the first 2 laps, as always. As we had a look on George there, but I'm going to back off. It's my teammate, otherwise I would have gone for that. So we're down to P15. Not a good start. Not ideal by any means. So yeah, like I said before, the AI are running full power for the first 2 laps of the race. They always do. They drain the ERS. So it's going to be hard on the straights at least to make any difference. It seems like we're a bit slow because I've completely stacked this car full of downforce as we go down the inside of Russell into the hairpin. Slight bit of contact there with Gasly. Luckily front wing no damage. So we're now P14. So yeah, really our race will probably start from lap 3, to be honest with you, once DRS gets enabled and the AR stop running full power. Looks like the majority of cars are on the mediums. I saw Norris on soft tyres behind, so that's one car we know is on a different strategy. Anyway, decent first lap. Considering a bad start, we've recovered quite well, and now we're going to see if we can use our pace to make a bit of progress and try and get some of these places back, because I need to be higher up. We need to be in and around the top 10 and, you know, benefiting from this strategy. If I want to go long, I've got to be higher up. So let's see if we can make that happen as I run a bit wide there. Gasly, a bit vulnerable into turn 1 maybe. Thought about it, but we're going to just be a little bit cautious first. It's only the first lap. Let's try and pace ourselves a little bit. Do I go for this again? Yes, we do. Down the inside. Nice. Exactly what we needed there. That seems to be the overtaking spot for now. in this early phase of the race until we get the DRS. That was a nice overtake on Pierre. Luckily he saw me down the inside, he managed to correct his line. But we're now P13 as we recover back to our starting position almost. Here we go then, we're now behind Grosjean. Then Magnussen ahead of him, so 2 Haas cars coming up here. Can we get Roman? He has got DRS, but maybe we're just close enough with this Mercedes power in the back of the car to maybe try and move. We're going to go the long way round, around the outside, bit of contact. So Grosjean scrubs out one with understeer and misses his apex completely, but we're through. Another move done, P12 now, as we start to cut through the field. Let's try and get Magnussen. He hasn't got DRS on sign, so he'll be a lot easier to pass on the straight. I wonder if we could challenge Magnussen into turn 1 here. If I can nail this final corner with some DRS on the pit straight, we could do this.
Okay, we're starting to think about saving some fuel. Lower the fuel mix and go easy on the throttle.
Down the inside. There we go. Don't worry, Jeff. I don't need constant reminding about the fuel, so I'm going to quickly shut up, Jeff.
Confirmed.
Thank you. There we go. Right, let's crack on. P11. Let's get into the points. Uh-oh. Yellow flag. It's Daniel Ricciardo, who's blown up right in front of us. That's going to give us P10 then, as Daniel Rick retires. Will that trigger a safety car, I wonder? We've had one 100% of the time, pretty much, whenever there's been a retirement in this career mode so far, this season. Let's see. And there we go. Safety car. Yep. Knew it. Okay. Interesting. So we're going to stay out. I think it's a bit early to pit yet. Obviously, we've got a big tyre advantage on these. I can see Stroll's on soft tyres in front, which is good, so he might pit. And then hopefully anybody else on the softs in the top 10 might box as well. So let's just stay on board here and see who pits in this lap and benefits from the safety car, or tries to benefit from the safety car. Looks like quite a few cars actually, which is good because we're getting quite a few places. Here we go. Cross the line. And we're now P3. Wow, okay, nice. So Bottas leads on mediums, Sainz is P2, and we are now 3rd in this race, which is great. We've also got slower cars behind. Looks like we've got a couple Haas cars. We've got Alpha Tauri, Russell, Alfa Romeo. So basically, this is it now. This is the key phase. I had a similar scenario in my abandoned episode take with the power cut, but basically, long story short, we're going to go very long on this stint because we've got the slow traffic behind, so they're essentially going to hold up all the cars that just pit. They're going to be held up by this big just buffer of traffic I've got behind. So Bottas, Sainz, myself, we need to try and pull away, go very long and just open up as big of a gap as possible to the cars behind. If we do that, we're going to benefit massively once we pit. So that's the plan. Let's see if we can make it happen. Okay, here we go. Safety car in this lap. We're going to start from P3. I feel confident we can get past Sainz. My pace was really strong before the safety car came out. I was catching him quite easily. So if we can get to P2 and kind of stick with Bottas a little bit, that'd be decent. Let's see how this restart goes then. Engine temperature's looking good. Tyres are looking decent. We're going to try and get a last bit of temperature in there before we get going. Here we go. Away we go. Oh, a bit of oversteer, but we're underway.
Strategy is available on the MFD. Got that confirmed.
Whatever. Let's just go for it. Lap 14 for the hards. Oh, Magnussen down the inside. That's a bit of a bold move there from Mr. Kevin Magnussen. He's going to challenge me here, of course, because, again, the AI running at full power for the restart. So we're going to be in trouble here. We're going to have to defend the inside into the next brake zone. So we're going to give Magnussen the right-hand side of the track. We have to be late on the brakes here. K-Mag locks up. We're going to hold it. And there we go. That's enough of that. Let's try and get on with this now. This restart's important, so let's push. The sooner we drop the cars behind out of the 1 second window, the better. That way they're not going to stick with us because of the DRS, and we can then get on with our race. So let's push and try and get back within a second of Carlos Sainz. Here we go then. We're a lot quicker than Sainz. DRS will now be enabled on this lap, and we've completely dropped the cars behind as well. We had a lot more pace than them. Let's see if we can get past Carlos and try and get that P2. We won't have DRS on anybody in front, so straight line speed won't be optimal for him, but I've got to try and get a bit closer, which I'm not really am. That was a poor exit out of there. Let's see if I can nail this one and try and get a little bit on his gearbox. No, again, a bit of a poor exit. Do we have enough juice on the straight to get this one done maybe? We're not the quickest on the straight. Looks like we're not close enough. Gonna keep the pressure on here, see if I can force him into an error maybe. Oh, there we go. A little bit of a twitch. That's what we're looking for. Any sign of, weakness from Sainz. Looks like he's held on though. Gonna keep the pressure on though. Maybe into the hairpin coming up. We can try again. If I can nail this section, which I'm pretty quick at, to be fair. Look at that, absolutely perfect. Just try and get the traction out of here. Set up the hairpin. Oh no, Sainz has absolutely nailed the traction out of there. I've messed up my controls as well. That's a shame. I need to get past. I'm a lot quicker, man. Oh, that's not good enough. I'm messing this up. I need to get past. That was better. Not great, but better. Just can't do it though, man. Can't get close enough. When it matters, straight line speed is in there. Let's try here. Here we go. Good exit out the final corner. Down the inside into turn 1. There we go. We just about get it slowed down. I've messed up turns 2 and 3, but we're through. Had to lunge it on the brakes. Now can we stay ahead? No other woods just yet. Gonna have to drain the battery. Nice traction out of there though. That was good. We're now out of ERS, so we're gonna have to try and save some of that. But there we go. We're through. Finally got the move done in the end, and we're now P2 in this race. Let's push on. We need to pull away from Magnussen even more and build that gap. Still got a few laps to go yet until our pit stop. Magnussen pits on that lap. Interesting. So Gasly will now lead the midfield train, which is 9 seconds adrift. Let's keep building that gap. That is good. The bigger we get the gap, the better. Bottas pits. Okay, this is good. Hopefully he'll get stuck in the traffic. We need to push now for a few more laps. Sainz will pit as well. So we're going to be out by ourselves here. I'm going to try and burn a little bit of fuel and try and squeeze out every last bit of performance out of these tyres. Hopefully there's still something left in these. The pace isn't great, but, we're not stuck in traffic, and that's the main thing. We're still pulling away from the cars behind, and obviously Bottas, for example, will be stuck in that traffic. So this is where this strategy is really effective, because we're essentially still running faster than them. Looks like they're all going to pit now, though, so this will be our last lap. So we need to box this lap now to cover ourselves. So we're going to push a little bit here again, try and drain the ERS and just give it everything. Hopefully we'll rejoin near Perez in P5. In the words of Sebastian Vettel from Bahrain 2018, these tyres are done, so we're going to pit and get the hard tyres on. I'm trying to wrestle the car and squeeze everything out of these tyres for the rest of the lap. Into the pit entry we go. Get also down to the 60, which is a pretty slow pit lane. And there we go. Right, now we're going to see if the strategy has paid off, if the benefits of going long is going to pay off. We're also going to get a secondary benefit of one stopping and having the freshest tyres at the end of the race. Here we go. Right, there we go. Nice, decent stop, 2.4. Here comes Perez. A few more cars in this train, looks like. And there's Bottas at the end of it. So we're going to rejoin P10 by the looks of it. Quite comfortably ahead of Sainz, who of course we overtook earlier. So we're going to the end now. We've got the freshest hard tyres out of myself, Bottas and Sainz. Let's see how this goes. Overcut wasn't as successful as I hoped for, but then again we're on a Williams and tyres were pretty poor. So let's just focus on saving ERS to the fullest, 100% ERS, and we'll try and attack later on. Here we are then. We've managed to get ourselves back into DRS range, personal best, and we're now behind Bottas. We've dropped Sainz. Lando, of course, on pretty on medium. You see Pitt, of course, under that safety car off of the soft tyre. So this is our chance now. We need to try and get past Bottas whilst he's stuck behind Lando. So I need to surprise him. And obviously there's only one place around here that I know I can maybe catch him out, and that is, of course, the hairpin. So we're going to try and line that one up. I'm saving fuel and DRS at the same time as well, so we're doing a good job. Let's see if we can get past Valtteri, because if we can get past Valtteri, we've got a very strong chance of winning this race. Did somebody order a send? Because I've got one coming right up. Oh, yes. Yes, what a move. Come on, around the outside. Love that. Job done. Light work. And we're ahead of Bottas. Absolutely critical overtake, that one. Let's try and push on here. All over the back of Norris here. He actually pit. So there we go. The timing on that Bottas overtake was perfect. Absolutely essential that we got that one done. We're now P4 and we're going to the end of the race, remember, so let's try and see if we can stay ahead of Valtteri. As I mess up turn 1 a little bit there. Let's see if we have the pace. I don't know if we're going to drop him out of 1 second. I think it's going to be pretty tough, but we'll try. See what happens. Verstappen in the pit lane. And so is Leclerc. Personal best as we move up to P2 in this race. We've just got past Perez now, and that will give us the net race lead here in this race. And I believe Perez does have to stop, so let's try and get past him if we can. Try and use maybe Perez to create some separation between myself and Bottas, who's currently sticking with me quite easily here. Let's see if Perez pits or not. He stays out. Interesting. Okay, this is good for us. Let's see if we can leapfrog him and put him between myself and Valtteri. Okay, that's a decent exit out of there. Let's see if we can get this moved on. Draining ERS. Down the inside we go. Perez locks up. We're through. There's the invitation. Now we've got an absolute send it. Just give everything we got. Try and drop Bottas as much as possible and build as much of a gap before Perez pits, whenever that may be. Looks like we're going to set a new personal best as well as we fly through. Perez is still staying out, so this is great for us. Hopefully he holds up Bottas for just a little bit longer while we try to increase that gap as much as possible. Perez is still staying out here as Hamilton sets another fastest lap. I wonder if Perez is going to go to the end, or is he going to go for the soft tyres right at the end of the race. I'm not sure, but we've now got 4 seconds over Bottas. This is working out beautifully for us. It looks like Perez is not going to pit. So the master tyre saver, Sergio Perez, is going all the way to the end. And he's holding Bottas behind me while Hamilton just gets past Sainz for P4. So at the minute, it's looking like an easy win for us now. We've got a big gap of 7 seconds. We've got plenty of ERS and fuel is now on target. So let's bring it home. 5 laps to go in this race. Here we go then, guys. Last lap of the race. Through the final sector, just the final few corners to tackle. It's been a pretty good day at the office here today. I've got to say, the strategy has been perfect. Recovering after a poor qualifying and a poor start. The pace was great, and we deserve this here today. So we're going to come through the final corner, and it's going to be our 3rd win of the season as we pick up the W in Singapore.
What a great race it's been then. Another classic Singapore Grand Prix, and they've held on to take the checkered flag here today. Anthony Davidson, a resounding victory today. What set them apart from the rest?
Without a doubt, the safety car changed everything today. The key to their success was keeping calm and reacting to the situation quickly. We've seen teams in the past throw away wins because they were too hesitant, but here they were decisive, and that's allowed them to take the advantage.
Williams have put in an incredible performance out on the track today. I'm glad all the hard work of theirs has finally paid off.
Well, there we go, guys. The race is done, and also it's a great day at the office because George Russell scores points in P9, so both cars in the top 10 for, I believe, the 2nd time this season, and it's a really, really good points haul for us. Bottas 2nd, Perez holds on to 3rd, Hamilton P4 ahead of Sainz, Leclerc, Verstappen, Gasly, Russell P9 ahead of Giovinazzi. Missing out the points, we have Kvyat, Ocon, Albon, Vettel, Stroll, Norris, Raikkonen, Grosjean, Magnussen, and then Ricciardo, of course, who retired earlier on. We then look at the driver standings, and we are back up to 3rd place, overtaking Verstappen once again, and we're looking pretty damn decent with those points. George Russell is currently P19, so he's not last, he's ahead of Giovinazzi. And we look at the constructors, and we are back up to 3rd place, overtaking Racing Point and Ferrari. So a really good day at the office here today, guys, and some much needed points, and what could possibly, potentially be our last strong track of the season. So we needed to do that today, and we fully, benefited and capitalised on the result. Either way, that's it for the race here today. We're now going to move into the menu and put more upgrades onto our car.
You really looked in control of your car out there. Your team must be thrilled.
Yeah, I hope so. The team did a good job. The car felt great all weekend long, and it was nice. Just having that comfort, knowing you can push, is big. And I've got to thank the team. They give me all that support that I need, which is great.
How do you feel the competition is for you this season?
I'm enjoying it. It's good fun. Everyone seems to be driving at a good level. So yeah, it's always fun.
Great. Well, that's everything.
Well, after that race, it's another successful one for the driver rivalry, and we're going to keep our lead over Charles Leclerc, which is currently 1 point. So a good start to the new rivalry with Mr. Charles Leclerc, of course. We then look at the acclaim and we level up to level 10. So finally we've got there, taking a little while, but we did got there in the end. And yeah, we can now move into the upgrades. So as you can see, looking on the left hand side, we've got 2 upgrades scheduled to arrive before the Russian Grand Prix, which is in 3 days time, so quite a short turnaround. We currently have 1,500 R&D points. You can see we've got some resource point generation upgrades on the way for the durability facility, which is not ideal. It's not performance related, but at least Williams are upgrading somewhat in terms of their facilities. Now looking at the options we have available to us here, you know, the aerodynamics, we've got a few upgrades on the way there, so I am going to go and work on the chassis. Now out of these, of course, we have one major upgrade, but that is for tyre wear. Again, I feel like we need performance, so I'm going to go ahead and purchase a minor one, and that's going to be for the cable assembly for the weight reduction, just to make the car a bit lighter. Hopefully that will arrive before Japan. We're going to hold back the 704 points for the next episode. That will mean hopefully we can put a double upgrade on if no upgrades fail. So before we do that, let's see if the 2 upgrades that are scheduled arrive before Russia. Of course, I had to jinx it because the first upgrade for the aerodynamics has failed. So we're going to go ahead and repurchase that. So there goes our saved up points for nothing. Just going to have to spend those and throw them away. Hopefully the next upgrade, which is the major one, does arrive. So let's see if that's the case. There we go, at least something has arrived and we've got some good news. So the diffuser upgrade for the rear downforce has arrived. So oh man, finally, at least we've got something on the car, which is great, and it's a major upgrade as well. So that was really, really important for us. So yeah, hopefully the next race will have a bit more of a, you know, of a consistent and stable rear end. You can see in the bottom right, we're actually ahead of Haas at the moment. So we'll see if that's the case when we actually load up into the next race at Russia. But guys, if you enjoyed today's episode, then slap a like on it. Let's try and hit 1,000 likes or more on today's episode. Subscribe for more daily F1 content on the channel. And as always, thank you to the members of the channel for supporting the videos. I really appreciate it. And yeah guys, hopefully you have a good rest of your day, and I'll see you all next time. But until then, take care, and it's goodbye from me.